Hi, I'm Andrew with Infinity Cutting Tools. Making rail and stile doors with a plywood flat panel is a very popular project. However, your traditional rail and stile router bit sets come set up to make a 1/4-inch groove for your panel. Most 1/4-inch plywood that we come across these days is rarely a true 1/4 of an inch thick. Infinity has solved this problem by creating slot cutter sets that allow you to adapt your two-piece rail and stile router bit set to accept plywood that ranges from thicknesses of 3/16 of an inch, 5 millimeters, 7/32 or 5.5 millimeters, and 6 millimeters or 15/64 of an inch thick. This is really nice because no matter what size plywood you come across for your project, you're going to be able to adapt your two-piece rail and stile router bit set to make a perfect matching groove for the thickness of your plywood. The Infinity plywood slot cutter sets are perfectly matched to work with any of the Infinity two-piece rail and stile router bit sets. They're marked with a laser marking for both the size of groove they make so that you can easily match it to your plywood, and also which bit they work with. The slot cutter marked rail is going to work with your rail router bit, and the one marked stile will work with your stile router bit. This makes it very easy to not confuse these two cutters. It's also important to notice that these cutters are marked in a way that you're going to be able to read them when they're installed on your rail and stile router bits. So if you've installed them on your bits previously and you come back for your next project, you're going to know at a glance how your router bits are set up and what size plywood they're going to be set up for. These slot cutters feature micrograin carbide with nice thick cutters. They have Infinity's non-stick coating that makes them very easy to keep clean, and a really nice computer designed anti-kickback design. They're also a 3-wing slot cutter, so they're going to have great longevity. To install my plywood slot cutter set on my rail and stile router bits, I'm over here at the router table and I'm using the collet lock on my router to hold my router bit securely so I can loosen the top nut on the router bit. For the rail cutter, I'm going to remove the top nut from the router bit, and I'm going to remove the washer and the slot cutter from the bit as well. I'm going to make sure there's no shims stuck to the bottom of my slot cutter. Remove that. Now I'm going to grab my plywood slot cutter marked rail, simply slide it on. You may be able to see that the carbide on this slot cutter has an offset to it. This gives me the correct size tongue on my rail cutter. Put my washer back in place, put my nut on, line everything up, grab my wrench, tighten it down. It does not need a lot of tension. The correct torque spec for this nut would be 8 foot-pounds. Setting up our stile bit is just as easy as it was for the rail. Loosen the top nut on the router bit, remove it, remove the bearing and the washer. Underneath the bearing is going to be a second washer. This is just there to give the bearing room so it can spin freely. Then we can remove our 1/4-inch slot cutter. Make sure that there's no shim stuck to the bottom, just like we did for the rail. Put our stile slot cutter in. Now it's going to make the correct size groove for our plywood to fit into. Reinstall our washer, our bearing, and our top washer. Reinstall the nut, tighten it down, and we're ready to go. You'll notice that we can still read the writing or the markings on the plywood slot cutter sets, so we'll be able to identify these if we put them away without reinstalling the 1/4-inch slot cutters. You'll also notice the 1/4-inch slot cutters that come standard on the Infinity two-piece rail and stile router bit sets have no markings on them at all. This is because they're a standard 1/4 inch for both the rail and the stile, and they're interchangeable between the two bits, so there's no worry of getting them mixed up. As you can see, it's that easy to get perfect fitting plywood flat panel cabinet doors using the Infinity plywood slot cutter sets for your 2-piece Rail and Stile router bits. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great information from us here in Infinity, and check out our blog where you can read about the projects we make and the tools we use here in the Infinity Tools shop. Don't forget to like us on Facebook to stay up to date on the latest that's happening here at Infinity.